Power is not given, it's taken. Somebody was waiting to be made the leader. You become the leader you want to be.
Hello and welcome to Fanya Mambo Africa on this beautiful Labor Day here in Kenya. But it's a working day for us, and we had to do it because we have one of the best. I don't know how people will judge me when I say one of the best, but at least one of the most courageous young people to come out, and that is the Inject Party leader himself, Morara Kebaso. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm fine.
How is you've been missing, but at least you showed up for this Labor Day. What would you say has pushed you?
I've been on a break. Politics is very intense, not just in terms of energy, but even mentally. It takes a lot from you, but rarely does it give anything to you. It empties your cup, but rarely does it fill your cup. So sometimes you need to take even a 1 week, 2 week, 3 week break. You go and, just enjoy a breeze, look into the water, or even sit at home and just enjoy time with family, just to have that clarity of mind and clarity of purpose on why did you begin this, where are you now, what can you say are your victories, what can you say are your losses, and where do you think you're going to go, and how are you going to get there.
So what have you learned during that break?
Well, first, politics has been a great teacher to me. There are many things that I was naive about that I did not know as a young person. I was oblivious of them, but right now I know better. I always operated with the assumption that the problem we have in Kenya is the leaders. That if we just change the leaders, our country will change. That if we just remove everybody from parliament and everybody from the Senate, Kenya will change. But I came to realize it's deeper. It's a cultural problem. It's a societal problem. Even the Kenyan people themselves are not easy. And the Kenyan people themselves are great contributors to the problem that we have in this country. So then how do we emancipate these people? How did they get here? How is poverty being used as a tool to control them? How is tribalism being used as a tool to maintain bad leadership? And how do we get them out of tribalism? So that's something that I've been thinking very deeply. And what can our generation do to change this country? So let's just say I've broadened my spectrum and understanding of how leadership in Kenya works, and an understanding of the people that actually decide the leadership, the voters, the employers. So sometimes we spend so much time blaming the leaders, but you see, the leaders are the employees. There is the employer also. So we need to find out what is wrong with the employer that he keeps giving us bad employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. And while you are away, politics, of course, didn't stop.
Politics was ongoing. I was watching.
And one of the key things that has happened this week, of course, we had a meeting with I'll call them like the opposition leaders in the country had a meeting. Yes. And you've come out guns blazing after that photo that went round. What's the problem with people meeting?
What I'm saying publicly now is something I've been saying privately for a long time, but I'm not being listened to. And not just me alone, but even Jimmy Wanjigi has been saying it. Now, Jimmy Wanjigi and I may not be on the same political party or share political ideals or values, but he was saying the right thing in every opposition meeting that we attended with him and the rest of the principals of the opposition. He always kept asking, what is our vision? What are we uniting for? What is our unity based on? What is the foundational principle? Because if we are just uniting to remove the president, we can replace garbage with garbage. We need to have a foundational principle and vision on where we want to take the country. But nobody wanted to discuss that. Everybody wanted to discuss tribal numbers. How many Kikuyus can you bring? And you, how many Kambas can you bring? And you, how many Kisses are you going to bring? Everybody's thinking about power just to go and eat. Nobody's thinking about power to go and change the nation. And this was my parting. And I parted with the opposition mentally and in terms of vision quite a while. It's been like 3 weeks since I parted with them in terms of vision, but I've been hanging in there. So it's like 2 days ago I just said, well, probably now it's time to talk about it.
You really want to tell me all those meetings, because you can't be meeting every time to discuss tribe? Like, you want to tell me all these leaders we look up to, all they sit and discuss is numbers?
All they sit and discuss is power, how to acquire power, and who will bring which tribal numbers. They never ever discuss about the people. And if they discuss about the people, it's for optics. It's about, oh, we need a press conference. Let's talk against extrajudicial killings. Let's talk against this issue of IEBC. It's always press conference against press conference. But there's no action plan. Nobody's saying, okay, so now we are going to speak against extrajudicial killings. And to follow up on it, we are going to ensure that this and this and this must be done. And if it does not happen, this is going to be our irreducible minimums. And this is going to be our action plan to make sure that there is justice for this victim. They just speak for the camera. They speak for the news. They speak just to be on the right side of the conversation of the people.
So when
but
you
not that they care.
When you sat in those meetings, because you went for several,
yes.
What was your what options did you give, and how were they received?
I tried to give a lot of solutions. One of the things I tried to convince them is why we should part or move away from tribal politics. I told them tribe is our identity. Okay? We are not refusing that we come from somewhere. We do know that we come from somewhere. In fact, that's why my name is so and so, because I come from somewhere. It's how we are circumcised, it's how we marry, it's how we pay dowry, because of the culture of where we come from. However, the use of tribalism as a qualification for leadership is bringing very bad quality of leaders. Because what is happening to the Kenyan people is that they are voting for anyone that is from their tribe. Boy bora unatoka kwa kabila yetu, it does not matter whether you are a thief, a criminal, whether you killed people, whether you do sex trafficking, whether you do organ trafficking, you steal people's kidneys and sell, it doesn't matter. We'll vote for you because you are ours. So we've owned bad leadership. We've made it ours and we are promoting it. Why don't we depart away from it? Well, they didn't disagree with me, like one-on-one. But based on the next speeches that were made after what I said, I realized none of these leaders wants to depart from the tribal kingpin politics because it's what feeds them. This person is very happy being a kingpin of that community. Kamba, for example. So-and-so is very comfortable being a kingpin of the Kamba community. It's enough to feed him. He'll collect money from governors, from MPs, and he will have people. And he will always negotiate with the current government because that community comes from, will always vote for him because he's from the community, regardless of the kind of leader he is. This one is comfortable being a kingpin of the Kikuyus. As long as he's able to trade them for something, he's happy staying there. They don't aspire for national leadership. In fact, people think that the presidency is very important to everybody in that room. No. Some of them are just there for national prominence so that they remain kingpins of their tribe because they are happy being the local kings of the community where they come from.
When these photos were posted online, Karua had a different opinion from what you're saying. And when she was launching her PLP party, you were actually part of it. What's this that she's pointing out that you and her are not sort of on the same page? Because both of you have been saying you want a better Kenya, and when you speak, you want to fix Kenya. So what is it that you're not seeing that can help you to come to the same space where you're fixing Kenya? Because every Kenyan at the end of the day wants a better Kenya.
Karua, I avoid to say so much about her because she's my lawyer. Just huwezi ongea paka uongea kuhusu wakili wako ama daktari wako. And because she's my advocate and she defended me in court, there are some things that I speak with her privately that are not for the airwaves. However, this is our point of departure with Karua. Herself, she's established herself as a firm leader that women of Kenya look up to.
Not just women though.
Even men. Why does she hang out with bad boys? What does she hope for? She knows that these people cannot change this country. So what is she waiting for? What is keeping her in the room? What is keeping her in the center of that conversation? Okay? When Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka and Honorable Eugene Wamalwa went to see Waititu in court. I spoke to Martha Karua and I told her, Madam President, because we see everybody in the opposition as a potential president. So we call each other president for confidence, so that you know that I respect what you aspire for. So, Madam President, when Kenyans will ask us what our position about corruption is, what will we tell them? Here is Waititu. He's not just being accused of corruption. He has gone through a process. He's been prosecuted in court. Evidence has been brought by the prosecutors. He's been given an opportunity to defend himself with several lawyers, and the court competent has found him to be corrupt and stealing public funds. You know how passionate the youth of Kenya are about this issue of corruption and how painful it is and how much pain it has cost our country. When Eugene Wamalwa and Kalonzo Musyoka go to release Waititu from court or to make an endeavors to release him, then what message are they giving about their position about corruption? That if they are given this country, they will not be jailing the corrupt, they will be their lawyers. So it's a culmination of several mistakes where you don't show leadership, you don't show where you will take the country if it is given to you. And this is my point of departure now with Martha Karua, that she insists on working with these bad boys, and I insist on abandoning these bad boys and charting a new path. Because according to me, I've sensed the moment. The moment says we need a third force that is neither government nor the compromised opposition. We need a third force of leaders of integrity who have vision, who want to take this country forward, who don't just want to take people through the merry-go-round.
When you're meeting with them, did you have this in mind?
I had this in mind, and I kept saying it. Even when I met with Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, Ndegwa Njiru was there, okay? Wakili Ndegwa Njiru. If he's honest enough, he can tell the Kenyan people what are the questions or what was our conversation about, because he was seated next to me. We were taking tea together. Gachagua was seated there, me and Ndegwa Njiru. We sat for several hours. If he's honest, he can tell the Kenyan people what I asked.
But
I
what
kept
did you
asking
ask?
Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, this thing about ethnicity and about tribalism, it is reducing you to your community. Are you completely unable to leave this thing and aspire for bigger leadership so that even the people from your community can see that you are a national leader embracing other people, embracing other tribes, and ready to be a leader of a country, not of a community, so that you don't then make other communities feel like you don't represent them. You don't represent their pain. You only care about your people. But he told me that, you see, Kenyan politics is ethnic and it will remain so let's be realistic. What he told me is we be realistic about politics. The future of this country is not about the reality of now. It's about the dream of the future. So anybody who is telling you that there is tribalism now, yes, that's our current reality. But it is not our future. This young generation that's coming up, who are people of my age, they are wanatambua hiyo mambo ya ukabila. They don't care. They don't care that you come from their tribe. This generation that I come from. So it's a problem, a generational problem, where yeye amezoea tangu wakati aliingia kuwa siasa kwamba hii ni ethnic, so he wants to do it like that. He doesn't want to have a new dream. He doesn't want to change himself.
Why do you think people then, especially the young people, because I see it all the time on the Twitter spaces mostly and TikTok, do not trust you with that? Because you when you speak of what you believe in. But why is it that then this generation of young people which you speak for seem not to trust you on that space? And actually for some of them, they believe you're a project of the government.
The young people of Kenya have lost trust with everyone. Okay? So me, I'm just a casualty of other people's mistakes. Okay? The young people of Kenya have been put in a position where people always use them for politics, but nobody ever talks about them. They are never on the table. They are always on the menu. They are the food. So at this point in time, for them to trust someone, it's going to take a lot of hard work, determination, and a lot of uvumilivu before you finally get to a point where the young people of Kenya can actually trust you. It's going to take time. It's a process. It's like a girl who's been heartbroken and abused several times before she can trust another man to love her and be her husband. That man will have to put a hell of an effort. And you see, he's putting all this effort not because he's the one who made the mistake. Because the people who came before him made very serious mistakes. They kept promising the world and delivering hell. They kept promising heaven, they deliver hell. So she's reached to that point where she says all men are dogs. And that's where Kenyan people have gotten to. And you can't blame them. And you see, this is part of what I've been doing during my break. You see, there's a time when people are very angry with you, and you think they are angry with you, but they are not. They are angry with what the system and the culture of Kenya has done to them. So you are just a point of exit for that anger. You are the figurehead that they can direct the anger to. It's like a therapist. When you sit down to offer therapy, the person you're offering therapy to, the first person they'll shout at is you, the therapist. And for you as a therapist, for you to offer therapy to this person, you'll have to be calm and listen. And me, I'm just listening to the people of Kenya, and especially the youth. Mi nasikiza tu. And that's why I never engage in banter. You will never see me on X abusing this blogger, abusing this blogger. They can insult me, but I cannot insult them. Because I know where they are coming from. I understand their pain. That's why I'm their leader.
You know, they say you're a self-imposed leader, which I think doesn't sit well with some people.
Power is not given, it's taken. Somebody was waiting to be made the leader. You become the leader you want to be.
You become the leader.
Yeah, you find it standing here, it has no one. You find a leaderless here, you become the leader. Kwani, nobody will give it to you. It's going to be a very big fight. So if you found it, run away with it.
Okay, very nice. And I think a lot of young people need to process that and accept it.
Sana. Wazoe tu kiongozi wao.
Na mapema. I like that. You've given a very good example of being in the room or on the menu,
yes,
which has also been given by several people. And when we look at Kenyan politics, for people who have come out as presidents, I mean, all of them, we've had 5 presidents. The 5 have always been in the room, all the time, since independence. I mean, not like since 1963, but they're always part of being in that room. And that is the room you have said you're stepping out. So how are you going to change that theory of being in the room so that you understand the behind the scenes to working from outside the room?
We'll create another room and demolish the old room. We're not going to be in that room anymore. The reason Kenya has never changed is because it's a hegemony. A hegemony where every 5 years, and Okio Mutata put it very well, he said Kenya is a jail. We are the prisoners. We, the Kenyan people, are the prisoners. The leaders are the prison wardens. Every 5 years, we get a chance to choose a new prison warden. But nobody has ever thought about breaking away from this prison. Nobody has ever thought about, let's break down the prison. Let every prisoner escape the matrix. They want to keep people boxed in tribalism because it's easy to govern them. The reason tribalism has always been used in Kenyan politics is because then when you are appointing a cabinet, you don't appoint a cabinet based on merit. You appoint a cabinet based on the Abagusi. We've given the Kikuyus. I think you listen to Gachagua's speeches, the way he arranges the shares. We've given the Luyas a cabinet secretary, and we've also given them a PS. The Luos, we've given them the PS interior. The Kikuyu, we've given them CS education. So that you, as a Kisi, as a Luo, you don't look at change. You don't look at good leadership. You don't look at new vision. You don't look at delivery. You don't look at accountability. You just say, tuko na mtu wetu huko. Even if he's there to feed himself. You just say, we as a community, we have one guy there. And this one guy, si ati hata ameenda kuwaletea kitu. He's just there for himself. We need to get to a point where it does not matter where you come from. You just need to offer value. You just need to offer value to the Kenyan people. It doesn't matter where you come from. The same mind that Kenyan people use to elect Indian as MP in Meru, as MP in Eldoret, as MP in Kisumu, is the same mind we need to apply.
But you know the Indian is Kenyan.
The Indian is Kenyan,
yes.
but they are not the majority race or majority tribe in that area. but they see value in this person, then they decide to vote for this person, isn't it? So all people need to look for is value. And this room has been used to keep the Kenyan people poor. This room that you're talking about, this boardroom, where people sit, they decide a president, the same old corrupt people that have been MP for 30 years, cabinet secretary for 20 years, never changed anything. But because this person can keep the system as it is, so that it keeps benefiting the few rich and disadvantaging the many who are poor, he is funded to be president. So the billionaires put in their money and this person becomes president again. So you think you have a new president, but you have nothing new. You just have a new secretary to continue with the work that the other one was doing. That's why President William Ruto has never gone after President Uhuru Kenyatta for the money that was stolen from this country. He can't go after him because they are part of the same family. That's why when William Ruto goes hunting and he gets something, he must call Uhuru Kenyatta for a share. He called him, gave him 4 cabinet secretaries. Uhuru Kenyatta is present and inside the government. But for purposes of double speak, and for purposes of keeping the Kenyan people entertained, Uhuru Kenyatta keeps saying, Gen Zs, yeah, you need to save this country. You need to save this country. Nobody else is coming to save you. Save us from what? Save us from the problem that you've caused.
But it isn't what he spoke. Do you want to kill the messenger or work on the message as young people?
No, that's hypocrisy. When Uhuru says we need to fight for this nation, he forgets that on election day, 12 trillion was withdrawn from the treasury. And it was stolen and it disappeared. He forgets that we spent 600 billion shillings more on the SGR. And he was in charge and full in charge. 600 billion shillings is money that can change very many lives. We are talking about 600 billion. We are talking about 600,000 millions. Right? We can give 1 million bob to 600,000 people. We can give 500K to 1.2 million people. We can give 250,000 to 3 million people with that money. 3 million people can get 250,000 to start a business. 3 million people. So that's kind of money just on SGR alone. He forgets that we lost 1.9 billion on NYS and he was the one in charge. And in fact, it was his buddy. Buddy for BA. That was the cabinet secretary for devolution. Waiguru. And we Kenyans, we went ahead and voted for that woman to be a governor. For not 1 term, but 2 years. So then the question
my question is his message, do we want to throw the baby and the bath water? Because, I mean, if he's raising something that is what you are fighting for, no. I still want to understand. Do we ignore, because someone has been part of the system, when they raise something that needs attention, do we listen to that, or do we just, because you are part of the system, we actually don't care?
Uhuru Kenyatta owns NCBA Bank. NCBA Bank's biggest client is the government. Last year, they recorded a very big profit. Their biggest client is Kenya. They are making money from us, billions. He has 4 cabinet secretaries in the government. Surely, can he be the one to talk about how we will change this country? You see, you can have the right message coming through the wrong messenger.
So do you kill the message and the messenger?
Yeah, you do, because King David killed the messenger that brought him news of the death of King Saul.
And the message?
Which message?
The one that he's
the message of change.
Sending, yeah.
Can he be an agent of change?
I mean, he didn't offer himself. That's why he asked Gen Z, perhaps.
Let's do this. He is offering a candidate. Jubilee Party now has a candidate.
Yes.
He is reviving Jubilee Party and is presented us with a candidate. What is that candidate coming to do? Is he coming to audit the debt? If Uhuru, for example, was to finance a candidate as he is doing now, a proxy, and that proxy or project comes and becomes our president, what hope do we have of recovering 6 trillion shillings? That was odious debt that never funded any project in this country, and it was stolen and it went. There's no hope. So in short, he's setting us up to accept a project which he has set up for us so that he can continue governing us by remote. We can't accept that kind of a message. Hypocritical messages should be left alone with the hypocrisy that they carry.
So what impact do you think Dr. Matiangi's candidacy will have on the? I mean, you are like now 7 people who want to run. I mean, the floor is still open for more Kenyans. But what sort of impact will what effect will Matiangi's candidacy have?
I don't know. First, I don't know whether he's a candidate for sure. I don't know what impact Uhuru's money will have through Matiangi. I don't know what the play of tribal politics will be. I don't want to overanalyze it because for me, that's politics of the past. Now the politics of the future is what are we doing to create a third force that is neither this coalition of Kina Matiangi, neither the government of William Ruto, of people who are progressives who are ready to change this country from every sector of life. It can include musicians, it can include comedians, it can include teachers, it can include lecturers from the university, it can include researchers, it can include people of churches and the cloth and the clergy and people from mosques. It can include everyone, but we need a change movement. We need leaders cut from every sector of the society, from civil society, from private sector, from public sector, who are change agents.
What are you doing to bring these change agents together? Because you've offered yourself as a leader of the young people.
You see, this does not begin as a community decision. It begins with a personal decision. As an interviewer or as a journalist at Alpha House, you need to ask yourself, are you ready to be one of them? If yes, which position? Then look for other people who are doing the same thing, aligned in the same interests, and link up your efforts. I'm making my own personal efforts. I've been reaching out to these leaders. I reached out to Honorable PK Salasia. We are supposed to have a sit down and see what we can do. I reached out to Honorable Gadhoni wa Mchomba. We are supposed to sit down and see what we can do. I'm supposed this week to reach out to Honorable Sifuna. I don't know what he will think, considering that he has a very big position in the ODM party. I don't know whether he's ready to let that go and come and stand in the middle so that we build a youth movement that can transform this country. That I don't know whether he's willing to do that. I also don't know whether Caleb Amisi is willing to leave and come and join us at the center. There are many young leaders that can join us at the center, including Manyata MP Mukunji. He can come to the center and we can see how to drive this change. But now, not everybody is going to accept. Some are beholden to their parties, others are beholden to their communities, others are beholden to a master, others are afraid, others just have fear of having to challenge the government head on without a parachute. Okay? So, it's not going to be easy to assemble this team together. However, the message needs to come before the people. The message needs to land on the ground first, be watered, it germinates. That there is a message, there is a sound, there's a lone voice in the desert saying, prepare the way for not the crooked opposition or the corrupt government, but for a third force that is coming to change this country. And Kenyans should not just look at the people in the political class. The constitution doesn't say that you have to be a politician to be a president. You can come from private sector. Donald Trump was just a businessman. Yeah? Ibrahim Traore was an army officer. The president of Ukraine, Zelensky, was a comedian and a TV guy. The prime minister of Italy was also a media guru. So people have come from different sectors of life without ever being MPs or being senators and just come and occupy the space at the center and they lead the country. So nobody should be afraid and say, oh, I've never been an MCA. I can't shoot this high. I can't be willing to change a whole country, yet I've not tried a word. God blesses people differently.
In Kenya, when you use religious connotations nowadays, it's become very cringe for people.
People are afraid of religion because of how it has been used to control the people.
So what has driven you towards that? You've given like 3 Bible quotes so far.
You see,
and I'm afraid that will hurt a lot of people, perhaps.
Yeah, I understand them. But what they should understand is not everybody is an unbeliever. Some of us are believers. Not just because we were born into a family of Christianity. No, along the way, we chose Christianity for ourselves. We chose believing in God for ourselves, and we saw what it did to our lives, and we believe it to this day. In fact, that Christianity or religion is the basis for our morals. It's the foundation for which we say corruption is bad, because it's been taught to us. It's our moral compass. So not everybody can be an unbeliever. We are a country of, very diverse interests. I'm not saying that if Morara Kebaso becomes a president, this country will be a Christian republic. I'm not saying that. I'm very much aware that we have Muslims. And I take time to study the
issue
Quran.
is not even about Christianity or Muslim or Buddhist, whatever. It's just how people who present themselves as Christians act in terms of being totally the opposite. However, this conversation was driving towards, we've seen I'm not sure even it's the emergence, but every year there's a story of some cultic movement. What would you do given a chance as president in terms of ensuring that now this Christian thing, we're moving from these cults to, like a sobriety or people with sober minds in terms of the religious practice?
I don't believe in controlling people's religious conscience. People make a choice to follow God. Even in countries that are religious republics, like the Islam Republic of this and this country, not everybody there is a true Muslim. Some are just hiding in Islam, but their beliefs are very different. Some are hiding in Islam, but Islam, does not support LGBTQ, but they are privately LGBTQ, So this is a secular republic. Let those who want to believe in God on basis of their own belief, what they've seen and what they've heard and what they've read, and then they've come to that belief.
So you
those
just
that
watch
do not want to believe, I'm not a preacher.
No, you just watch Kenyans go through like the Shakahola.
What happened in Shakahola, that is murder. That's genocide. That's not what I'm talking about. Anybody who kills person or people en masse on the excuse of anything, it doesn't matter whether it's religion, business, economic interest, or whatever. Anybody who leads to the death of thousands of people in such a manner, whether it's organ trafficking or what, that person decides to be hanged for genocide. So what happened in Shakahola has nothing to do with our religious beliefs. I think those were just people doing organ trafficking business, or people in cult, or whatever it is that it was. Investigative agencies have never come out clear, yet we pay them, by the way, to give us these answers. You see, now Morara comes to Alfa House, he's asked about Shakahola, his information is so little, yet there are people in government who we pay with our taxes who are supposed to know and tell us for sure that this is what was happening, these are the number of victims. But when they saw that the victims and the bodies are piling up, they shut out the media. They didn't even want the media to be there anymore. So we don't know what they are covering up, and why a government would be interested in covering up a crime which they are not party of unless they are party to it. So what happened there, that is not religion, that's crime.
And then the other day, you've actually brought the issue, it was going to come, but we've seen young people who are being, I'm not even sure it's organ trafficking, because it was willing, people who,
Kidneys.
who offered to sell their kidneys for money. What has driven people to this level? And how, if you're in that position of power, how different would you ensure that now the youth are not getting to that position? Because it's young people.
The youth are in a very desperate position in Kenya. Recently I was having a conversation with my team. So I used to go to media interviews. And whenever I appear on the media, I talk about youth issues. And one of the things I used to say is that the youth have been pushed to a corner where they are now selling their nudity on OnlyFans and strip chat. Okay? And I was saying it on media as a bad thing, so that people don't do it, or so that people see it as a problem and offer a solution. Do you know what it did in result? Many more people started downloading OnlyFans. Many more people joined. It's as if I advertised it. It's as if I offered an advertisement. Now recently we've had this issue that there are kidneys being sold or being bought in Eldoret for 600,000 shillings. I know people from my village where I come from who have made a journey to Eldoret hoping to sell their kidney. It was announced in the media that people have died from this. Some people have been left with permanent injuries. Some people have disappeared. Others, this is what is happening, is organ trafficking, it's illegal. But people are so desperate for wealth or for survival to the extent that they have to go and sell their kidney. So it's two-way. There are those who are surviving. There is the youth who don't have a job, they don't have a business, they don't have a source of income, they just need to survive. So they do crime, they do these things, still snatching people's phones, and some of them are even graduates from the university, and trying to survive. Then there are those who've been sold a lavish lifestyle through Instagram. So for them, they are not so badly off. They probably have a job that pays some decent amount or not so much, but at least they can earn their daily bread and pay some rent in a bedsitter or single room. But they've been sold a very lavish lifestyle by, content creators who gift, their wife or their fiance new cars, new houses. They give them a holiday. They take them to this place, to that place, a new iPhone. So these people are like, oh, probably life, there's more to it. So they also want that. They are aspiring for it, but not willing to go through the hard work to get to it. So there's also that problem of, fake lifestyle on social media, pressuring the youth to want to chase quick riches, and that has even fueled the gambling craze that we have in Kenya. So you find somebody has a job, they are not completely unemployed, they do have a small job, maybe as a junior secondary school teacher, but they are using the salary to bet. So there are those two problems. And if you were to ask me what I would do about the young people in Kenya that are jobless, the only way to sort out this problem, number one, is industrialization. Now, you can't industrialize a country that is not in control of power. The driver of industry is power and energy. If you don't give an opportunity to the production of hydroelectric power, solar power, and nuclear power, and all other power that can produce enough kilowatts to keep the lights on and to keep the machines running, you can't industrialize a country. So we need to remove the cartels from the power sector completely. These independent power producers, they need to leave so that we liberalize the power market, so that power becomes affordable for people who want to set up industries, so that we stop importing everything. We are importing 90% of everything that we use. We are importing even clothes. We are importing every single thing. We need to stop importing and start doing it locally, because we have the labor force. The young people are here. They are unemployed. Nobody has called them. They refused to go. When Alfred Mutua called them to Jesus Winners Church, they came in their tens of thousands. Then he ended up conning them. These people are asked to give money. And it's a coincidence that we're having this conversation on Labor Day, because Alfred Mutua is a Labor CS. He lined up people in KICC, took their details, told them they will have jobs in the Gulf and in Saudi Arabia and wherever. Everybody was asked to pay this much amount of money. People sold cows, the only property they had. People sold land at home, the only land that they had where they could even eat from, hoping to go abroad. Then these people pocketed the money and they left Kenyans hopeless. So we have the labor force that can fuel industry. So we need those industries. And we should not just think about foreign investors. We have local investors. I, Morara, yours truly, am one of them. If I'm given an opportunity to be able to access financing at an affordable rate, I can be able to expand the industry in Kenya and employ more people. So what about someone else and someone else and someone else? We'll never have unemployed people in the street. And once we get the youth off the street and into work, some of the problems we have will end. This pornography will come to an end. This pornography craze and other things. This gambling craze will come to an end. Why? Because people will be preoccupied. You've been working the whole day. Where do you get time to do this?
When you saw this story of these Kenyans who actually just paid and never got to travel or never got the opportunities, how does that make you feel? Mm-hmm. And what would be your message to Dr. Alfred? Because it's a thing that is, Kenyans are going through it.
Shame on you, Alfred Mutua. Shame on you. Shame on you 100 times. Shame on you. One day there will be a government in Kenya that will make you accountable for these mistakes. Do not think that power is forever. One day there'll be a government that will make you accountable. And to all Kenyans, stop voting for this kind of people. Alfred Mutua did havoc as a governor for 2 terms. I have documented it in the Vampire Diaries. I'm not saying rumors. Everybody can go and check the Vampire Diaries for Machakos County for themselves. And if they don't believe what I'm telling them, they go and read it in the Auditor General's report or Control of Budget. They'll see it. He wreaked havoc in Machakos County. Theft of public funds that was amazing, humongous. And then the same person gets to the cabinet again. Not to take care of any other person's, but interests of labor. Labor which the youth are suffering from the whole country. It's so tragic. President William Ruto, please get rid of this mistake called Alfred Mutua.
What do you think the president should do to fix all these issues that you're raising? And the ones that are raised by Kenyans every other day.
Is he willing to fix it? Yeah. So, we keep advising the president, we keep giving him suggestions. Is he interested in our suggestions? Is he interested in our advice? Does he not know, for example? Are we telling him something new? Is he learning it for the first time? We keep saying, oh, Mr. President, please make sure that the people have this, people have this. And he never does it. He's at the forefront of lying to people. So how do you expect the one who is at the forefront of lying to the Kenyan people to be at the forefront of changing their lives? The problem cannot be the solution to the problem.
Unfortunately or fortunately, we can only have change democratically, and that means in 2027. So for the 2 years, what does the president do? Because he's in power for the 2 years. And that's the constitution.
Well, undemocratic ways of taking power is also part of history. And there are countries that have achieved change through undemocratic means, where the system is so messed up. You have a compromised IEBC, you have voters that are being compromised using money at the campaign, and therefore through the democratic process you are unable to actually get a good president because the system is rigged. It will always give you a bad leader. It is a setup. So there are people who have used other means. People have risen up in popular revolutions and overthrown government and put better governments. There are people who've risen up in military coups like Ibrahim Traore. We keep praising him. Are we forgetting that Ibrahim Traore actually got to power through a coup? Let's not forget that. He didn't come in through an election. He got tired and took the gun and shot in the air and took government.
Is that what you're advocating for as Morara? Though?
Me, I advocate for change by all means necessary, democratic and undemocratic.
So you have nothing to say about the next 2 years in terms of you working democratically, though?
The president has advisors. Yesterday even hired another advisor called Makau Mutua. We have so many advisors. We have a bloated wage bill of advisors that we are paying for the president. There is nothing that I can possibly tell him that they've not told him. But is he interested? Is he interested? For example, can you tell William Ruto that the debt crisis in Kenya is very serious? We have a debt of up to 12 trillion. Please fix the debt crisis. Yet he is the source of the problem. They began that problem with Uhuru Kenyatta in 2013. They found a debt of 1.89 trillion, then they went on a borrowing craze, on borrowing speed. Uhuru Kenyatta's predecessor borrowed 8 trillion together with him. Now he has also borrowed another 4 trillion. So it's their problem. They can't fix it. They are the source of the problem. If they start fixing it, they fix themselves. Because the first journey towards fixing the debt problem in Kenya is auditing the debt. It needs to be audited. We need to know how much was borrowed, what was it for, was it used, did it land in our account? If you start there, then you end up in their bank account and they end up in jail, so they cannot go that direction. So the president is conflicted. He can't change this country because he is in every scandal. He's right at the middle of it. So if you tell him to change this country, he can't change it. You saw the people he's taking pictures with. Very well-known money launderers, like this guy called Chivayo from Zimbabwe. So if those are his friends, and his advisors, then Kenya will just become, the government of Kenya will become a criminal enterprise.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Today being Labor Day, of course, the COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli will be making a lot of speeches, of course. But besides that, the other day he was saying that there should be internet regulation because of the kind of messaging and the framing that young people are putting on the online space. What do you feel about that? And do you feel that he's well representing the labor force in Kenya?
Happy Labor Day to all Kenyans. To the government, shame on you. We are not celebrating this Labor Day with you because you are the reason why we are in labor and in pain. The government has raided the payslip of the average Kenyan worker. They have loaded tax over tax over tax on the Kenyan worker with nothing to show for it except theft, and nothing. Wizi bila kazi. So, I just want to celebrate this Labor Day with the Kenyan workers who have been able to stay alive in spite of what is they are going through. Congratulations to you for being able to still go back to your families in the evening in spite of the fact that your salaries ends the second day after receiving your salary. It is usually over. Okay? And to tell the young people in workforce and in the labor movement, where are these old people like Atwoli? You know, I posted a picture of the executive committee of KOTU. Old people that are sleeping in meetings, you know, people who have children that have also given birth to other children. They themselves should be at home resting. They are not poor. They have wealth. And the young people in the labor movement don't want to rise up and take those positions. Excuse me, young people. It is not just Morara fighting for the presidency. It is the young person to occupy the space next to them. If you're in the labor movement, occupy it. We want to see young people occupying KOTU. We want to see young people occupying NAT and becoming the leaders. Kupet. How can these 8-year-old people be making decisions on behalf of you and you've just started working? You've just gotten a job. How can they make good decisions for you? Young people in the labor movement, you need to rise. That's my message to you on today as we celebrate Labor Day.
On the issue of internet regulation.
On the issue of internet regulation, okay, I don't like everything on the internet. Let me be honest. In fact, sometimes I dump my phone. I give it to my PA, or sometimes I delete the social media apps and just let it be updated by my social media manager. There's a way where there's a lot of positivity on the internet. There's a lot of new and good things you can learn on the internet. But there are also very nasty things on the internet. I've had even to regulate the TVs in my house because of the children. The kind of content that is carried over the internet. The internet is free space. Everybody posts anything, including nudity, including things that we not want even our children to learn. So I do agree that the internet is quite something. However, in terms of regulation of the internet, I don't think this is the time. Because the internet is the exit. You know the way a pressure cooker has an exit for pressure? It's the only exit that the young people have to express their frustration at society and at government, and at the failures of society to take care of their interests. It's the only place they have. And it is the place where they are earning an income. People are earning an income for tweeting. People are earning an income for doing TikToks. People are earning an income as influencers on Instagram. You can't solve diarrhea by stitching the anus. That internet is the only exit that the young people have for their anger and frustration and to earn a living. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. This is not the time. Because if you touch the internet, if you close down social media as they think they should, then now this anger will have no exit. Now the kind of war that will come in Kenya, it will not spare anyone. Even Morara will be running for the airport. It will not spare anyone. It will not spare anyone, including us, will be victims of that anger. Right now, when a young man snatches my phone in the street of Nairobi, does he know that I spend my whole day fighting for him to have a better country? He doesn't know. He's just thinking about his next meal or how he will get his favorite drug that he uses to forget his worries, whether it's alcohol or glue or bang or Cosmo or cocaine or heroin. That's what he's thinking about. He doesn't even know who he's stealing from. He doesn't know he's stealing from Morara. In fact, if he was given a moment to say, Morara, we hear you, we know what you're doing for us, please go with your phone. But they wouldn't.
So
nobody will be spared when this country goes to the dogs. They should leave that internet alone.
Let the internet be.
Let it be. If there was no internet, there would be no Alpha House.
Is it even a problem of the internet or the information shared that people might be scared of?
Yeah, of course, internet is all about information, and information is driving business. Even me, my business runs 90% on the internet.
Okay.
In fact, even my clients come from the internet. So some of the information on the internet is damaging. That's for sure. We may need to look at it, but this is not the moment.
Not the time. And the other day you said there's an opposition leader who's getting 2 million as bribe per week?
Per week.
But why are you not giving us the name? Like, when you throw information like that, what are we supposed to do with it if we can't pinpoint and say it is the 2 million was given to Morara? We deal with Morara.
You see, Kenya should be hardworking. Okay? Kenya should be hardworking. I cannot bite and chew for you at the same time. Kenya should also be hardworking. I gave enough hint, they can make it out themselves.
Why is it usually very hard for people in the political space to pinpoint things?
Because we know the extent to which we go in fighting people. We don't want to make it personal. We want to make it about looking for a better country. You see, the moment we start attacking personalities and individuals so hard, then it starts feeling like it's not about good governance, it's not about change, it's about us wanting to hurt them or hurt their image in society. So sometimes we give these examples for purposes of people to introspect and think through it. And I'm telling you for sure, this is not propaganda. This is something I know. For sure, there are leaders in the opposition receiving money from government. And they pretend to be in the opposition to fight for the Kenyan people. But they are fighting for nothing. In fact, some of them even get contracts. I'll give you a better hint. One got a contract for Kenya Airports Authority 3 months ago for 600 million shillings. So now that's a very big hint. I've given you the amount, I've given you the agency. And it's an opposition leader. And he is in one of the photos with me. So probably now it won't be so hard. Okay. But the truth is that we have pretenders in the opposition who try to masquerade as change, but they are not change itself.
They're not change.
They just want to keep this thing going.
Okay. What is Inject Party going to do to maybe have more young people on board come 2027? Not just as members, but even running, something.
We've done a lot of work with Inject Party. First, now we have a very strong party constitution that has a lot of positions for people inside the party, as Secretary General, Organizing Secretary, Chairman of the National Elections Board, County Executive Committee Chairman for every county, 47 counties. You can be a chair for, all the constituencies or a secretary. So we have almost 2,000 positions in that constitution for young people across Kenya. If anybody wants to read that constitution, it's on our website, the injectkenya.org website. And our proposed nomination rules are also on the website. We have also started recruiting volunteers who are civic educators. These volunteers that we are recruiting, we want to keep the government accountable at grassroots level. So we don't want it to be Morara's job to keep traveling to Western, to Coast, to Nyanza, to tell Kenyans what's happening. We need to have soldiers in every community monitoring the road from the day it's dug, from the day they start doing shoddy work. We need somebody near there who just lives next to the road, monitoring it, and part of our greater network of keeping this government accountable. Now, these volunteers and party officials are people we are mentoring. In short, the reason why we are bringing them to these positions as volunteers and as party officials is so that they can gain the experience of politics, so that we can plant the seed of interest in them. We have an interest in having candidates across the country in every constituency, every ward, and every county across Kenya. We don't know whether change will come to Kenya in 2025, in 2026, 2027, or 2030, or 2028. We don't know when the heaven is going to open and, we are going to get change that we've been fighting for. But we need to start that fight now. Okay? Even the fight for a new constitution did not begin in 2010. It began sometime in the 90s. So people fought over a period of 10, 12 years before they could finally get a constitution. So the fight might be long, it might take time, it might be painful. Along the way, some people lose their careers, others their businesses will be damaged, others will be bought and they will cross over to the other side. A lot will happen, but it should not kill our spirit. We should know what we are doing and keep at it. Consistency will break resistance.
That's true, but it's good I clarify that as Alpha House, we believe in the democratic and the constitutional ways of running a country. Because if you were to go the other way, it's either a good thing or a bad thing. It can spiral to the worst. Let's now cross over on the international space. President Trump has marked 100 days in office. What's your feeling about the 100 days and the achievements, perhaps? Or failures, for that matter?
I believe my thoughts are that he's opened very many war fronts. I don't know what his intention is. I don't know what the long game is, but it doesn't look good. He has disturbed former allies, people who've stood with the U.S., who fought against alongside the U.S. even in wars in Afghanistan. He's gone after Canada, for example, which is a very polite neighbor that never has any issue with anyone. He's gone so hard after China with very heavy tariffs, and China has responded and things have become very expensive in the United States. So he has kind of, ruffled feathers and stirred waters in a way that is very uncomfortable to allies, not to enemies. You see, the problem for him is not that he's targeting the enemies of America, is that he's creating new enemies for America. So I don't know what his game plan is. Well, probably what I would be grateful for, and I think even PLO Lumumba spoke about it here on the Alpha House show, because I always watch your show, is removing USAID from our country and from Africa. Aid has kept us slaves for a long time. For a long time, this aid has been filling the gap of the inefficiencies of government. Government looks like it's properly spending our taxes, but it is all USAID and other, well-wishers plugging in. It's good they plug out so that we get the correct picture of where our country stands in terms of standing for itself. And also, disrupting the cartels that have been disrupting the world order around the world, and using the world order to kind of control other countries and create wars and start others. So for that, I'm grateful. So as Africa, for me as a Kenyan, for Kenyan interests, I think he is okay for Kenyan interests. But I don't know whether he's good for American interests.
But, what is your take on the tariff war between US and China? Or which way forward between Trump and Xi Jinping?
You see, you cannot burn down your kitchen before you have another kitchen. Yeah?
Yeah.
China is still the kitchen where the food, or let's not say the food, but the things that the United States uses, the factory is China. So it can't last. It will be too painful on the average American. It may not be painful on Donald Trump himself because he's rich, but it will be painful for the average American. And maybe because he's not looking for re-election, he doesn't care. So I'm waiting to see the long game. You see that kind of mess up that somebody does, then you say, well, I hope he has a plan. So all of us are hanging up on that hope and saying, we hope that this Trump thing will result in something. We hope that he's doing it for something. But based on my own analysis with the little knowledge I have in economics and geopolitics, it's not looking good.
Not looking good. Our president was in China for more borrowing. I don't want to discuss on the borrowing part, but I want to understand what you think, why this trip had to coincide when the US and China are having the trade wars, and Kenya was right in it, sort of.
Well, I don't think William Ruto's trip to China had anything whatsoever to do with the trade war between the US and China. It is too big a game for us. I think the president is just looking for where he can get money without questions. And China has been the country where African leaders go to get money that has no questions. You see, money that comes from the World Bank, the European Union, it comes with a lot of questions. These countries have auditors, they release money in phases. You have to go and do phase 1, they come and see before they can release the second batch. So this kind of too much accountability, it makes stealing very difficult. Theft of public funds, it becomes difficult. But China, you ask for money, they give it to you in cash. Or they say this Chinese company will do it. We will loan the Chinese company the money, then the Chinese company will give you the kickback. It will not give you the kickback in Kenya, it will deposit it to your account in Hong Kong. So China is like, it facilitates corruption better than other financiers around the world. And because China is the factory of the world, it has the money to spare. It has a limitless amount of resources. So if you ask them for money, you are definitely not going to lack it. Utapata tu.
Okay. Trump, again, the first time they met with Zelensky when they started this whole peace process between Russia and Ukraine was not the best of meeting. Guy went in a shirt and it became in a t-shirt, and that became news. But now when the Pope died during the burial, we spotted the two leaders just talking. What is behind that? What was the message?
It just goes around to tell you that when it comes to leadership, you can never put it in your heart. It's never personal. It's all about interests. The US has heavily funded the war in Ukraine. They have an interest to recover some of the money they've spent. Russia has spent a lot of resources in Ukraine in war. They hope to recover and retain whatever they've gained. Ukraine has lost a lot of people in death. It doesn't want to come out as a loser or as a person that surrendered. Okay, they don't want it to go down their history that way. So these men are caught in between a rock and a hard place where they have to explain to their taxpayers what's happening. So whether they like it or not, they have to talk. So it's not a favor they are doing each other. They just have to talk and they have to agree at something. Well, the US has a heavier hand because the US is more powerful, it provides the resources, so that's why they have the latitude to humiliate Zelensky, because they are like, we are funding you, come on, so don't talk to us and we are the ones funding you. And that can be a lesson also even to African leaders. When you're being funded by someone, or when somebody is your prefect, they'll control you, and sometimes it will be humiliating even to the public that has elected you, thinking you are an independent president. Then they see you being humiliated by another president, they realize you are not so powerful, so after all, as they thought. So it's also a question of, are we really independent? These countries that say, these countries that say they are independent, the People's Republic of, are they really independent, or are they dependent?
Do you think Kenya is?
We are not independent. We are dependent. We are not independent. We have a 4 trillion shillings budget, which 2/3 of it is being funded by debt. How independent are we? If 7 out of every 10 shillings is going to debt repayment, very expensive loans. And sometimes we borrow a more expensive loan to settle a cheaper one. So meaning we are digging a deeper hole. It's like you have a bank loan of 200,000 or 500,000, which has an interest rate of 18% per annum, but you go and borrow 500,000 from a Shylock at 150% per annum to come and pay the bank loan. You'll only sink deeper.
Minus.
Yeah, it's negative. 2 steps, 3 steps backwards.
You saw. I think 2 weeks ago there was a sort of a war against Burkina Faso's president from the US.
There was an assassination. Okay, first there was also an assassination attempt. But
those
there was
ones
also,
now we can't even count how many.
But there was also a general from the US who was speaking against Ibrahim Traore.
Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, you see the kind of thing that Traore is bringing to Africa. It's not even money. It's not like Burkina Faso has money so much. He's teaching African self-dependence. He's teaching them that without these colonial masters, your country can still survive. You will build roads, you will build industries, you will feed your population, your banks will be running, your children will go to school, your hospitals will have medicine, even without these foreign masters. So that's not a very good thing. It's like teaching a person who is used to being given fish how to fish. Of course, the person who's been giving this person fish to keep them enslaved will not be happy that this person is being emancipated. I also don't expect William Ruto or the opposition in Kenya to be happy with Morara, especially on how he is opening Kenyans' eyes with regards to what has been happening and what game has been played on them. So, to me, Ibrahim Traore is bringing a new thought to Africans. So Africans are beginning to ask their presidents, even here in Kenya. People are saying, where will we get an Ibrahim Traore? It's not just happening here in Kenya. I speak to friends in South Africa. I have friends in Nigeria. I have friends in other countries. They tell me, even in their countries, young people are discussing whether they can actually get an Ibrahim Traore in their country to get rid of these foreign interests that have enslaved them. So I think that's what the US is angry about, because the US wants people to be dependent on the US for them to be able to control the world. And that's good for them because it's in their interest. But is it in our interest? No, it's not.
Of course not. All right. Very great speaking to you on this beautiful Labor Day. Maybe your final message to Kenyans.
I'll just speak to the youth, not the Kenyans in general.
Well, Kenyan youth then.
Yeah, I want to speak to the youth because they are at the heart of my conversation and thoughts and plans. I want to tell the young people of Kenya to stop limiting themselves. Limitation is the language of the enemy. The enemy will always tell you, this has never happened. Tribalism has never ended. A young person has never become this position or that position. You can't do it because it has never been done. That's the language of the enemy, the language of the devil. Believe in yourself. Start standing up and occupying these spaces, not just Morara with the presidency. In fact, I don't even have to be the president. I just need to kick the door open for enough of you to rush in and occupy these spaces. The leadership that you are demanding from William Ruto or demanding from the opposition, you are demanding it from the wrong people. These people are incapable of giving you that kind of leadership because they have benefited from the system as it is. If you want to change the leadership of Kenya, offer yourselves for leadership. Be ready to offer yourself for leadership. And please, do not downplay my efforts of fundraising, because that will be where you will get your breakthrough. At the end of the day, you will need some resources. You'll need some resources for your advertisement, for your posters, or even just for moving around. To sell your message, you need to move from point A to point B. And Kenya is big. So you will need those resources. I have removed the shame from begging. Now nobody can shame the shameless. So go ahead, Kenyan youths, and be shameless. Ask for resources where you have a vision. Let people put money on the resources and occupy these spaces. And let us send home these people that have occupied the space for 20, 30, 40 years without ever changing anything.
Wow, fantastic. Message is home. Be shameless, be fearless. It is your time as a young person. Thank you for watching this episode, and hopefully you've enjoyed your Labor Day. Have a fantastic one. We shall see you on the next episodes.
Happy Labor Day.